Hello, this is Lynn Madichon from Madichon's Herbals, and as you can see, we're continuing a little bit with with the difficulty with recording, and so I'm coming to you a little bit sideways today, but it should work, and hopefully it won't black out like it did last time. Different device, so hopefully keeping my fingers crossed that everything is going to go well. So tonight, I don't think you can see it, but I am sitting in front of my fireplace with a roaring fire going. It feels really good on my back. I have a cup of hot chocolate. It is hot white chocolate. It is pretty amazing. It's raining outside, and I've got some lamb stew heating on the stove in the kitchen for when we're done here. So I am all ready, just feeling cozy in my house, and I thought tonight would be a good night to talk about moon magic. So that's what we're doing, is we're going to talk about moon magic. Now, the moon, when you start talking to people, the moon is always considered feminine and the sun is considered masculine. The moon is also typically represented by a goddess, although not always. There are a lot of different feminine archetypes, and depending upon where you are in the moon cycle, that will make a difference. Depending upon which path and which deities you follow, that's going to make a difference. But there is all the female archetypes, from the sweet and gentle to the roaring and devouring, those who are prone to matricide and infanticide and castration, to those who are prone to creation and magic. Some of them are androgynous, some are forever virgins, and some are depicted with a bacchanalian fervor. So there doesn't seem to be a common thread in how the moon is looked at through the different cultures and through the different paths, beyond the fact that it's feminine. So the question is, if you can go from creation to infanticide, from a virgin to a seductress, how do we define feminine? Feminine is not the same as female or woman, but it's a concept, an archetype, a polarity, a kind of energy. Is a combination of these things, or is it something else? In the Western Hemisphere, the feminine tends to be associated with qualities or characteristics of what is termed the second sex. That would be feelings, emotions, flow, relationship, connection, nurturing, vulnerability, softness, receptivity, and intervention. These are all essential aspects of the human condition. Any person, regardless of gender, can express these characteristics. Over here in the West, we allocate them primarily to the feminine. And while we claim to cherish these traits, we also have devalued them in subtle or explicit ways. A key one being the lack of financial value accompanied to caring and healing-based work in the capitalist societies, where value equals dollars. It is, if you've ever had a reading from me and one of the kings or queens comes up for one of the suits, I always stop and talk a second about the feminine and the masculine energies. Now, we all carry both feminine and masculine energies in our hearts and in our souls, and we use them situationally. Generally, masculine energy is determined to be more direct and hard-hitting. Do it or die. The queen energy is more of a negotiating energy. If you clean your bedroom, I'll do your laundry. but I'm not going to go into your bedroom and pick up your dirty laundry. A win-win situation. If you look at the sun is more direct and hard-hitting. You can get sunburned. You can get a drought and not have any water. And the moon is a little bit softer. It is, the light is softer than the sunlight, and it's generally cooler in the heat of the day. It is, so I can understand how they were assigned their gender. But I would also tell you that temperature drops in the moonlight, and it can drop to sub-zero temperatures depending upon where you are. The moon affects the tides and can bring in really big high tides, which is a pretty aggressive energy. It is to solely think that any human is always exhibiting female or male energy to the exclusion of the other is silly, because that doesn't happen, because that person would be so totally out of balance that they would not be functioning. And it's the same with the moon and the sun. The sun in the early spring warms the earth and brings forth the seedlings. That's creativity. That is creation. And like I said, the moon can bring incredibly high tides that can do a whole lot of damage. So the truth is, like humans, both the sun and the moon exhibit both feminine and masculine properties at different times. Now, the other thing that I want to say is that 200 years ago, or even, 600, 700 years ago, if you looked at how women were looked at and treated, it is much different than how we're treated today. So if you accept that there is a resonance between the moon and the feminine, it is not surprising that the moon is experiencing right now an uptick in popularity in the West, in parallel with the growing popularity of traditional female qualities. Collaboration over competition, soft power over force. Recent years have seen a surge in both leadership language and studies that indicate we do, in fact, value intuition, emotional intelligence, and vulnerability, community building, interdependence, flexibility, and compassion. This is an evolution that will continue to grow through the years, and we'll see, if you're around for a while, I think you will see the continuity of the moon-based religions growing. I mean, Wicca right now is probably, and I use the Wicca, the big umbrella over all of paganism. We are among the fastest growing spirituality group, and have been for years. And I think you'll continue to see that. The moon is all about cycles. And so we've got the cycle of the moon around the earth, but also the earth around the sun, the cycles of the season, the cycles of night and day, the cycle of animal migration, and the cycles of our bodies. The moon takes approximately 1 month to make their revolution. Now, in that 1 month, there is the moon will go through 8 phases. These 8 phases are, in fact, co-created by the orbits of the sun, the moon, and the earth. The moon takes about a month, again, to go orbit the earth, and the sunlight that the moon reflects to the earth, that's the part of the moon that we see, is in each of these 8 phases within that month, and it's totally in relation to where the moon and the sun are. Now, I just told you that it has, the moon has 8 phases. Now this pillow only has 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're missing the moon phase that is right here in between these two, which is the first quarter, and here, which is the third quarter, and we're missing the dark moon, the new moon, because there would be no way to put it in here. So I think I need a bigger pillow. And the other part that I have to tell you is that whenever I have seen myself in the camera wearing a shirt that has a printing on it, the print shows to you backwards. So these moons that you're seeing right here very likely are backwards. So what we've got is the new moon, which would be out here, okay? And the new moon occurs when the moon is dark in the sky, and it's the very beginning of the cycle. This is the time to set your intentions for the full moon cycle, not for the full moon, but for the entire moon cycle, what you want to do and see in your life. Now the next cycle phase is the crescent moon. And there's some light in the sky, so you see a small crescent. I had a friend who used to call it Grandpa's toenail moon. And at this time of the moon, you're supposed to continue with your intention, relax into it, and make yourself comfortable with it. And breathe, something that we all seem to be needing right now. Recognize that this is the time to build on your intuition. This magic goes throughout the whole month. It isn't 3, the new moon and then the full moon and then the new moon. You need to work on these things throughout the month. Now the first quarter moon, which is right here, and you can't see it because they didn't put it in, is, it looks like, as you're looking at the moon in the sky, it looks like a half a moon. Now it's the first quarter because we can't see anything on the back. And so don't get confused about that. So the first quarter shows, where am I here? Okay, so this is time to take discerning action to support your intention. It is time to do your homework. Just setting an intention will not work. You have to do the homework, and you have to take the steps to make whatever your goal or intention is to make it successful. Now this moon is the waxing gibbous moon. It is, we're almost to full, and so it's going to be like 3/4 of the front side of the moon. It is, this is the time to move fully ahead with your intention, or to accept that your intention was not for your best and highest good at this time, and realize it and set a course correction. The full moon, which is this one, all right, is a time of illumination and emotional climax. We can see the whole front side of the moon. It's time to move fully ahead with your intention, or accept that your intention was not for your best and highest good at that time. Release it and look at what your next steps should be. Now this moon is the discriminating moon. It is, it's the start of the waning season portion of the cycle. It will be getting smaller, and this is the time to feel grateful for that your intention is coming into focus, and it is in the perfect way. Receive it with gratitude, because that's how you get more of what you wanted, is by being grateful for what you have. Now the third quarter moon is right here, and it will be the other half of the first quarter moon. It is, this shows that you are receiving your intention, and it's time to start giving back from a place of abundance. So that's paying it forward. All right, now sharing it forward or paying it forward doesn't necessarily mean it has to be money that you're giving somebody. It can be time, it can be energy, it can be an ear, it can be anything. But it's part of building community and creating a safe place for others to grow with you. Now, this moon right here, this is the last one in the moon cycle, and it is the Balsamic Moon. It is fully waning, and it will be moving back into the new moon. This is the time to reflect with thanks, to rest and restore, to prepare for the next cycle, and recognize that this is the time where we have the void of course. Now, the void of course is within the last 3 days of the new moon, and my notes on that are, yeah, I don't know where that is. During the void of course, and you have to actually look it up. Here we go. These are the notes on the void of course. Okay, so it's the dark moon period that occurs 3 days prior to the new moon and is the shortest phase of the moon and can be just hours. This is the time when you can't see the moon in any phase. Typically, no magic is performed during this time. This is the time to give yourself a break, to turn to self-care and pamper or replenish your energies. Vision quests, deep meditations are called for this time. It is, the void of course is not recognized through scientific astronomical means. It is purely a nature-based observance of the astrological phase. Now, those are the 8 phases of the moon. What I'm going to tell you is typically you're going to use I didn't do these as well as I could. So if you're looking at general magic, all right, the new moon, you're going to use growing magic because the moon is growing. So at the new moon, setting goals and preparing your altar is the appropriate thing to do. The waxing crescent are building magic that you use, and that would be money spells, career spells. The first quarter, you would do love spells and luck spells and healing spells. The waxing gibbous is a time to take a breath and reflect on where you're going. It's just before the full moon. Now, the full moon, you can do anything. The full moon is one of the most powerful times of the moon cycle. So you can do any kind of magic during that time. Generally, during the full moon, I will put out any stones or any magic that I need, magical tools that I feel like I need to cleanse. And I'll put those out in the moonlight because that's the strongest moon, the full moon. Even if you live in Washington and it is constantly cloudy, the moonlight is still there. It's just behind the clouds. So that doesn't mean, oh, it's cloudy, so I can't put out my crystals. What it does mean is if you have water-soluble crystals like selenite and black tourmaline, those you don't want to put outside. You would want to put them in a window where they could see the moon. But if it's raining, you have to, that would destroy your stones. Not all of them, but some of them. So look at it like that. Now, once we start going to the waxing or the waning moon, that's when you're doing magic to make smaller. Okay, so that would be the waning gibbous would be banishing, protection, cleansing, and detoxing. The third quarter would be rest and justice spells. The waxing crescent is the time of void, of course, and so you would basically look back, be grateful, do meditations, that kind of thing. So other kinds of magic. Now you can do moon water, and moon water is generally what I use on my altar. I have bathed in moon water. It is, if I'm looking for a special cleansing thing. Now you can make moon water at any phase in the moon. I mean, I think most people generally tend to do it at an eclipse or at the full moon, but you can put it in at any time. So if you're making moon water at the new moon, you can use that for new opportunities, cleansing, renewal, and rebirth. Any waxing moon water gives those same qualities of growth, expansion, drawing things to you, like love, friendship, career success, etc. Now, full moon water, it's typically the most potent and is made under the full moon. The full moon helps all of your intentions manifest, including love, success, prosperity, empowerment, etc. It's also great to use for divination. So if you have a scrying bowl, moon water is good to put in that. Cleansing, consecrating, and amplifying the power of rituals. Now the waning moon, water made under the waning moon, will have the following qualities: banishing, releasing, diminishing. Things from your life like bad habits, toxic relationships, exorcising ghosts, spirits, reversals of magic, etc. The one thing I want to say is this: if it happens to be a waning moon and you have a bill come up and you need an extra infusion of cash or some means of getting this bill paid, you don't have to wait until the waxing moon. What you need to do is do it in a timely manner and figure out how you're going to write your couplet so that the universe knows what it is that you need. The moon is an extra energy that can amplify your energy and make it stronger and make it easier for the magic to happen. But it doesn't mean you can't do it if there is an emergency. So don't say, oh, Lynn said I couldn't do it because the moon is waning or the moon is waxing. No, it's just going to be a little bit harder. You still can get it done. Now, if you decide you want to make moon water, spring or filtered water is kind of nice, but use what you have. You want a glass or a silver vessel. I don't use silver, I use pewter. I've got a beautiful pewter bowl that I use. And then you need to have a vessel that you can keep the water in. So what you're going to do is put your water out, leave it in the moonlight, try to bring it in before the sun rises, and store it so that you can use it. Now you can also make moon water with herbs. So if you know that, okay, I'm going to do a love spell or I'm going to do a healing spell, you can put the appropriate herbs in. You can put roses and lavender in for love. You can put cinnamon in for love. You could put for a healing spell, you can put helichrysum in there. You could put stones in there. You could put serpentine in there, which is an amazing healing stone. Also is amethyst. So the water doesn't have to be just plain water. You can add things to it that will also be charged by the sun, or by the moon, I'm sorry. And that way you're going to have specific water. This is for the spell that I was going to do. It is, and that makes it stronger. So things that you can use your moon water for is you can add a cup to your bath to cleanse and heal. You can put it in a spray bottle and spritz your altar and house with it, which is a cleansing unit. You can use it to wipe down your magical tools, to cleanse and charge them at the same time, because it's the moon that's doing that. You can use as an offering to the goddess or the god by putting it in a bowl on the altar. You can wash your windowsills and door frames to bring blessings. You can pour it over your head and wash your hair in the moon water to awaken your psychic abilities. You can add a cup to your laundry to enchant your clothing, or you could use it to wash your floors. So other moon magics that are just kind of a fun thing to do is if you have long hair and if you want to keep it growing, you trim your hair when the moon is waxing, because that's the growing cycle, and you're going to then increase the growth in your hair. If you keep your hair short and you would just as soon have a haircut every 6 weeks instead of every 4 weeks, get it cut on the waning moon because it shouldn't grow anywhere near as fast. You can plant by the moon, and this is the time now that we're looking at getting our garden set up and what are we going to do with that. It is the moon controls all of the waters, the tides, the waters, the rain, all of those things. And it puts the moisture in the earth. So planting in the new moon, you want to plant plants that have above ground crops. So berries, tomatoes, peppers, squash, melons, everything where it's above ground. If you plant at the full moon, or the waxing moon, you want to plant plants that have below ground crops. So that's going to be things like potatoes and carrots and peanuts, any roots, beet, turnips, horseradish, turmeric, all of those things. It is, so the waxing moon, it's above ground harvest, and the waning moon, it is the below ground harvest. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next Wednesday. We will have Ostara on Saturday. That will be at 7 o'clock on Saturday. Again, you want to bring, if you want to participate in this, you want to have a yellow candle, and of any size, it doesn't matter. And you can have, you want to have a seed or two, something to plant the seed in, so a little pot and dirt. And you want to have a little piece of paper that will fit inside the bottom of the pot underneath the dirt with your intention for the next 6 months. Thank you for joining me. I hope this worked out good for you. It didn't look like that it glitched this time, because I kind of saw my face the entire time that I was doing this one. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a blessed Ostara if I don't see you between now and then. And thank you for joining me. Blessed be.